Hello, it's very nice to see you.
Well,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And I would like to ask you questions. And my viewers are Japanese, so many people are worried about American situation because whatever happens in the United States will affect Japan.
Yes.
So my first question is, based on your experiences all over the world, what do you see in your country?
Well, you know what? I would say this, that America is in a very dangerous place right now. And for your viewers and listeners, it's something that we must take very seriously because America is unstable based primarily, I think, on our current political situation and the influences from other countries to destabilize America. So that's kind of what I see as far as just a bird's eye view of, what's going on. Anything for you?
Well, I agree, and I think that a lot of people are not educated to understand what's really happening, because the media is telling people one thing, but the reality is not truth. So we need to educate ourselves on what's happening and not trust the media.
And your job is to help many people in many countries, and I see your faith in Christianity, and you're giving many new view of their lives, and you're changing your lives. And I think that when I saw one of your movie, you gave me very huge energy, and I felt what's happening in my life. Sometimes I see like, oh, I have not good day, or I think there are many things I need to deal with, but it looked so small. And so what I felt from your movie is, I think it's connected to what's happening in the United States and Japan. What I'm trying to say is, I'm sorry, I'm not good at speaking English.
It's good.
But when people have some struggle in their lives, those people who are trying to attack countries like Japan or United States, they, I think, use those people who in need and give us liberalism to make them feel that those ideology is the way to save their lives.
Yes.
And many people are struggling with this. That's what I felt. So I'm not trying to force my opinion, but could you please teach me, how do you change or give opportunity for those in need?
Sure, I'd love to. And one that's very insightful for you, because it's true. Oftentimes people who struggle with a lack of identity or a moral code, or they've suffered trauma, they're very susceptible to other influences, whether it's a false narrative, for people to manipulate them in order for their own purposes. They act like they care for the person who's hurting. They don't. They just want to use them. So I think for your viewers, my background is, so they understand the context by which I'm going to share my beliefs, is I was tortured as a child and left for dead. And I suffered greatly. I was left in a commercial cooler to die, but it caused problems for many, many years, to where I had to have 123 visits to a trauma specialist. I did drugs. I was very angry, violent, insecure, and then a large part of my healing came through faith, because I think faith is important, and our soul and our mind and our need to be healed, so other people don't take advantage of it, especially forces of darkness. We believe in dark and light. So I would say this. One, when we've traveled to other countries, and everything from children being turned to terrorists because of brainwashing and abuse to very sad, we deal with girls and people who are human trafficked, sex trafficked. Many of them come from abusive backgrounds. And when people experience injustices, it makes them more vulnerable. Now, what I will say, all pain to me, pain is equal, no matter the background, emotional pain, but the consequences are different. So my mother had married, many, many times. I went to 14 schools, 17 houses. That all has consequences. But the same pain another young man could feel if his dad just rejected him, or his dad said something to him that said, you'll never make it, you'll never add up, you're a loser. It hurts. So pain, to me, is the same. The consequences are different. And I think why people like to see our movie or follow our videos is we've kind of lived out, how do you make it, right? So relationships are the most important thing that's going to happen in someone's life, good and bad. And my wife met me. When we met, it was 34 years ago. And we developed a moral code that most people in the world do not follow. And we believed in a level of purity and honor and commitment. And we've kept that. And it has allowed us to be on a solid foundation to reach and help others all around the world who suffer from trauma.
Okay. And I've seen one of your movie, Victor Marx Story.
Yes.
And I felt that you are the greatest
Yes.
help and influence, and you supported family. And right now in the United States, I hear many people saying that value in family are under attack.
Yes.
So is in Japan.
Yes.
Being a great wife, and you have been many what should I say, struggle or problem or many things.
Oh, yes.
Could you please share a story, or could you please tell us the insight you got?
Well, that's a good question. I believe that for marriage to me is the bedrock of society. And when marriage falls apart, we see society fall apart. Both of us came from divorced parents. And there's some downfalls in that. I was raised by a single mom. Victor was raised by many fathers. So when Victor and I came into our marriage, we both had baggage.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I think everyone comes into marriage with baggage because no one's perfect. We come up from childhood. His was severe because of the abuse. Victor explains his coming into our marriage with the whole luggage train, the whole train of luggage.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I say, I just had one piece, a carry-on, but I had explosives
Okay.
Right?
in my carry-on.
Yeah.
So I believe that marriage is a place to unpack those. And it's a lot is childhood wounds. So I think it's good. I think it's important to unpack, to heal. And I think as married couples, that is the best place to do it because you're safe. You're in this journey, hopefully for the whole lifetime. And it's okay to heal. It's okay to see counselors. It's okay to get help for problems. Because if it just stays here, that's how come a lot of marriages don't make it.
And we actually have a marriage course that, we need to get translated into Japanese. But never give up. That's our main thing. Never give up. Protect your marriage. Have hope for the future. Hope is so important. And again, we're starting it at a level of personal. starting with the person, then your relationship, and then protect your family. Because in Japan, it's so important that y'all protect the family, the value, the honor, that used to be amazing.
So one of the challenges early in our marriage that I was not prepared for, because I wasn't expecting it, because here I am married to a Marine, a black belt, a man that has so much charisma. I did not know the pain that was in his heart until we started having children. We had our own business. The stresses of life brought this to the top. So this is when his childhood pain started coming out. And he describes it as a beach ball. When he would be triggered, the beach ball would pop up. And then I would see, bizarre behavior or anger, outburst of anger. All these things would pop up. He'd try to push it down. So I was not prepared for this. So this was the beginning of his trauma coming out. And God allowed us to go through it, I believe, to teach us that this is human. You can't pretend it's not there. You can't just push it away, because it will come out when you're stressed, when things happen. So that was the beginning. And we had 3 children, ages 4 and under. We had our own business. And when we said, I do, I will marry you till death do us part, I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, okay.
But I did know that I made a commitment to God and to my husband, and I knew that how difficult it was, he was going to help us, and he did. As Victor said, 34 years. We've been married almost 34 years, which is it doesn't happen today. Half of our siblings are divorced.
Oh.
And it's just marriage to me, it's not just Victor and I. Again, we have faith. It's God, Victor, and me. It's that triangle that he helps us.
So you're explaining your experience, and I asked you about family value.
Yes.
And what you just told me about how you see your marriage, I feel like I'm getting a lesson because I'm not married yet. So, yeah.
Which is so important for single people to learn before they get married. It's better to have a plan and an understanding than, constantly trying to figure it out before you get into a relationship. And again, I think single people can be vulnerable to the influence of false narratives because they play on your loneliness, they play on your hopelessness. You'll never meet the right person. And you've seen a pattern, your generation of marriages not working out, which, there's a huge gap between the generations. So we're here to bring hope that it absolutely can and will. And no one should ever give up on finding love, right?
And so the next question. So you go to many places and give speeches, and you go to a prison and give speeches to the young kids and girls.
Yes.
Currently, how do you see this situation in United States? Is it getting worse or getting better? Or
I would say the values, the morality of the United States is getting worse. Very confusing. Let's just take the gender issue. There's a very intentional effort to confuse children on their basic gender, whether they're male or female. We understand if an adult wants to revisit that and choose to identify a certain way as adults, it's their choice. They can do it. But our position is don't mess with children. God made us male and female, and there is a overt, extreme approach to mess with the very basics. It's a struggle growing up anyway, right? People are trying to find their identity. Who am I? What am I going to be? But when you mix in saying you're not really a little girl or a little boy, or you can be both, or what, it adds complication, which will end up, that type of confusion will cause anger and insecurity. It will cause drug addiction. I mean, we have a crisis in America for people ODing, heroin use, other fentanyl, but it's starting even younger. And then violence, which ultimately we think will make children and young people very vulnerable for extreme activity, you know, extremist groups, because we've dealt with extremist groups everywhere. We've spent a lot of time overseas having to try to rebuild, recover, rescue, even help women and children who've been affected by ISIS. So we understand the process, and in America, we're at a very high risk for that even now. Today, a friend out of DC sent me some information that the police are on watch for ISIS in a mall. You know, people think ISIS is gone and out. They're not. We literally work in Syria. We have an office and an outreach center for the largest confinement of ISIS wives and children. Wow. We've helped many to work through stuff, but America is on very shaky ground. And I'll tell you what I think my solution is in a minute, but that's kind of what would you add anything to that?
Well, I would say the value of human life has been distorted. And I know it's not just an American thing, it's worldwide. People don't understand their value. We see human life because God created every human in his image. So everyone has a fingerprint of God, which means every single life is valuable. Today we see abortion as a form of birth control. So there's no more value. They can just you can just have an abortion because it's inconvenient. We see women being abused like never before. We see, I mean, back even in our teenage years, how people would have, you know, I mean, people were having sex outside of marriage forever, but it's like today, there's no shame. People are doing things in the wide open because there's no value. And then it's being forced on people who don't agree with that to agree with it. You agree with how I see things in this world, and if you don't agree with me, then you're a hater, then you're whatever name somebody wants to call you. So definitely the value of human life is being stepped on. And so that is something that we want to bring that back up and say, no, you are valuable. No matter what somebody says, you are valuable.
I see. I'm concerned about abortion issue also. I learned two terms. One is pro-choice and pro-life. And I did not know what it means, but when I heard explanation of pro-choice, I was surprised. Yeah. I'll be the one to choose. Right. It was very scary thing. And when you said that the value of each individual is under attack, and if we value individual, it's the same thing.
Correct.
We are same individual. We are not to choose whether this person is to live or die. It's not our choice.
That is 100% correct.
So it's connected. It's not only about women. It's my body. I want to choose. It's not. It's more than this. We were talking about more than this things.
And even that statement, my body, my choice. If they really believe that, then certainly a baby inside them, it's their body and their choice. If we're using logic and being intellectually honest, so we believe that God will allow consequences to come onto nations and countries that rebel against him and his moral law and again, we're very concerned for America. We're concerned for Japan. We're concerned for many countries we go to. I mean, I was just in Colombia recently with some friends, Michael Yan, which is a friend of ours, mutual friend, Mexico, overseas. We have safe houses in Southeast Asia, and we see evil. And so our concern for America, unless, or any country, is that, there's a law of God, even if it's the 10 Commandments. If you look at a moral code, we shouldn't lie, shouldn't steal, shouldn't kill, or murder is a better term. Don't commit adultery, fornication. There are basic things that if we don't raise the bar for that again, the world is in trouble. But yes, the United States is affected greatly, and it affects the world. Decisions the U.S. makes does affect the world. So my thought is, one, from a spiritual standpoint, we believe people should recognize they're wrong and what the Bible says, repent before God. Basically say, we're sorry. We've messed things up. We want to do things right. The other thing is, practically, even though as Christians, people of faith, the political process you can't further God's kingdom through politics. We understand that. But as citizens of a nation, whatever nation you're in, we have a responsibility to steward the political system in the best interest of the people, right? And we believe that Americans should take a very serious role, especially those who might consider themselves conservative or people of faith or values, to get involved in the political system, to vote, to use the privilege of voting, because there are many countries that don't have that, to put in the best leaders possible. The Bible says if a bad leader rules, the people moan, they suffer. If a good leader is in office, the people are happier. And that's kind of our position of get involved in every aspect. In America, the right people have to be put in the right places for leadership. Right now, many people are complaining about Biden, and there's, okay, the election was stolen. Well, still, people have to get involved to control all these areas through the political process first for real leadership.
Okay. Thank you very much. If I wish we have more time to interview you, but I'm gonna introduce your website and your YouTube and your courses in Japanese.
Wonderful.
今日は時間がまだまだ足りなくてですね、もっとお話を聞かせていただきたいんですけれども、いろんな世界でいろんな本質を見極めてきたお二人からお話をお伺いしました。もっとお話を聞きたい方はですね、Your organization is called All Things Possible.
Yes.
何でも可能だと All Things Possible というサイトがあります。そこでいろいろな活動をされている様子とかいろいろなプログラムなどのコースを受講することもできますし、あるいは映画もたくさんありますので、ぜひ皆さんご覧いただきたいと思います。Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I became more fan of you too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, どうもありがとう。
ありがとうございます。
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Again. Oh, again. Oh, again. Hey. That's good. Very good. Okay.